Facebook family and friends. Today we have a special guest for you. I told you the last show that we were going to have Miss Zina Garrison on the show, and I've been fortunate enough and she made some time for me and you so that we'll be able to ask her some questions and see what she's doing now and see what she thinks about the current Tennessee, male and female, and what's on her agenda for the future. But as I always do, I start my show off with some HBCU news. But before we do that, you know what I'd like for you guys to do? Hit that like button, that subscribe button, and smash that bell so every time a show comes out, you'll get a notification on it. Okay? And I really appreciate the family spreading the word about the show. And couldn't do anything without you guys. Today's episode is sponsored by two of my first sponsors that I greatly appreciate. Dr. Phyllis Morgan, a dentist located on Stella Link. Also, Gerald Womack, a developer located here in 3rd Ward, Texas, as you see I'm highlighting today. These are two great people that have come aboard, and all you other listeners that are contemplating maybe getting your name out of your business, give us a thought and a shout. You can always email me at fatlarrypodcast@gmail.com. fatlarrypodcast@gmail.com. This is how these two individuals got in touch with me also. Going right off into it because we have an important guest here and she has things she has to do. So let me go off into the HBCU news. Get my glasses so I can give you the right news. Okay. HBCU swag baseball, because that's the time of the season now. That was my game when I was at Texas Southern University baseball. It's a good game. People say it's too slow, but it's not. You just have to sit down, chill, eat you some popcorn, drink your soda, and you'll enjoy the game. See the skill of the players. I'm going to give you the standings in the SWAC right now. Right now you got Alabama State, Bethune-Cookman, FAMU, Mississippi Valley, Alabama A&M, and Jackson State bringing up the rear in the East. Okay, you have an East and a West division in the SWAC baseball. In the West division, you got PV at 6-3. You got Grambling State at 6-3. Southern University 6-3. TSU is at 5-4. UAPB 3-6. And you got Alcorn at 1-8 bringing up the rear. This past weekend, Texas Southern went to Southern University and got swept. And that wasn't a good thing. It wasn't a good thing, but that's okay. They get to play them again. And I think out of the Western Division, it's going to be 3 teams, Prairie View, actually 4. Prairie View, Grambling, Southern, and TSU that's going to battle for that position. So with that said, we're going to move on in that TSU is going to be at Prairie View this upcoming week. Let me stop. I always tell my listening audience that HBCUs need your help. Always. You know, it's always about the money, as I said. So if you're in a vicinity or live in a city where one of the HBCUs or is playing a baseball game, this is why I'm giving you this information. Go out to Prairie View and watch TSU and Prairie View play. You know, they would appreciate it. Very inexpensive to go watch the game. And give the guys some emphasis to want to continue to put out. One more time, TSU is at Prairie View. FAMU is at Bethune-Cookman. UAPB is at Grambling State. Texas Southern is at Prairie View. That Friday game is at 3 p.m. You know, they play Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Southern is at Alcorn. Alabama A&M is at Alabama State. That should be a good game. That's a rivalry game, just like Texas Southern and Prairie View is a rivalry game. I think I'll be there at that game Saturday to see it. Mississippi Valley State is at Jackson State. So that's the baseball with the men. going into the softball with the women. From this point forward, I'm going to always keep some women in my sports because my daughter has made it clear that I need to talk about some women on the sports show. So here's the softball team, and I actually do, not being comical or funny anymore, TSU's softball team has been great over the last 5 years. They're always in the mix in the SWAC championship and going to the playoffs. They changed coach as of this year and have not missed a beat. Let me give you the standings. Softball in the East, Jackson State, Alabama State is in second, Bethune-Cookman, Mississippi Valley State, FAMU, Alabama A&M bringing up the rear. Softball in the East. In the West, you got TSU 10-2, Prairie View is 8-4. Texas Southern just beat Prairie View 2-1 in a series at Prairie View last week. So that was good for TSU. And Southern is in third, Alcorn is in fourth. You got Grambling State, UAPB bringing up the rear. And softball, women's softball. So TSU beat Prairie View 2-1. Players of the week, 2 of them came from Texas Southern. You have Tamira McKnight. She batted over 600. Let me say that again. This young lady batted over 600. In baseball, you consider it a success if you can just do 1 out of 3. If you can just get a hit 1 out of 3 times, 300. You know, if you batting 300, they think you're great. But this young lady batted 600 last week. That means every time she went out of 10 bats, she got a hit. That's fantastic. You got Jasmine Jeandorf won the pitcher. She went 2-0. So Texas Southern is still in stride over there on the softball. They haven't missed a thing. And so I want to give my flowers out to coach. The new coach name is Raven Rodriguez. Raven Rodriguez. Coach Rodriguez, you're doing a great job over there with the women's softball. She came from University of Texas Tyler. She was an All-American. Her assistant, Jessie Scroggins, came from Baylor. She was an All-American. So they got good teachers over there for the women's softball. So I look forward for them to continue to roll. We go over to, now TSU plays at Memorial Ballpark at Memorial Park, free of cost. One more time, they start Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Grambling State is going to play TSU. And let me look and see where Grambling State is placed again. Grambling State is low, but that doesn't mean anything when you're playing a game. So Grambling State will be at TSU. Bethune-Cookman will be at Alabama A&M. Alabama State will be at Mississippi Valley. Prairie View will be at Southern. Alcorn at UAPB. And Jackson State at FAMU. Now, once again, I'm not just going through these games just to let you know who's playing. The women would also appreciate you guys coming to the game, showing them some love. And definitely the TSU fans should be flocking to Memorial, no charge, to go see the women. You know, they're in the mix every year. Some more news now, moving on to another one. George Ivory, the former coach at UAPB, head coach at UAPB, is named the head coach at Mississippi Valley State, where he starred for 4 years. I think that that's a good hire for them because when he was at UAPB, they were always competitive. So Hunter is out at Mississippi Valley and George Ivory is in. I think that Byron Grissom, the player that came in from University of Houston, that came to TSU and played center for us, he played well enough in the HBCU game this past week in New Orleans to have won that MVP award. He didn't, but he showed well. He had 12 points, 6 blocks, and 10 rebounds. As I mentioned in my last show, this guy is 6'10", he runs the floor, he blocks shots, he rebounds. And I think if a team give him a chance in the NBA, he can make it. I really do. I want to talk about Johnny Jones. He was named to the Achieving Coaching Excellence Honor Roll. This is in regards to him taking TSU to the NCAA and also for his work on the court and off the court in the community. Mo Williams, the former head coach at Alabama State, is now the head coach officially at Jackson State University. Javavius McGinnis, the all-SWAC center from Jackson State University, went into the transfer portal, and now he's going to Ole Miss in the SEC. So he's going up a notch to Division I, what they call it, FBS status. So he's going to be playing with the big boys. And speaking of that, I'm sure everyone, this is a Tuesday taping, and I'm sure Monday, April the 4th, everyone, mostly all the old sports fans were watching Kansas and North Carolina. And as I told someone, I had picked Kansas to win. It wasn't looking good at halftime, but they turned it around, and Kansas is now the NCAA basketball champion for 21-22. Okay? A quick thing right here I want to give some people some information is that the Ocean of Soul was asked to perform at the WrestleMania AT&T. Now, some of you folks may be saying wrestling is not a sport. Yes, it is. I'm going to tell you like my uncle used to tell me when I told him that. And that was, let somebody get you on that top ring about 15 feet in the air and then throw you on that net. And then you come and tell me if that was fake when you hit that net. So, no, it is not. So, Ocean of Soul performed at WrestleMania in the TSU spring football game. Is this Friday at 6 o'clock at Burley Stadium on the TSU campus. A lot of information I'm giving you guys. The TSU spring football game is going to be on campus at 6 o'clock. And once again, it's free, and I'm sure the young man would appreciate some people watching the game. I tend to be there also. Running through the NBA right quick, the through pro leagues, and then we're going to get to our guests. In the NBA, the top 8 teams are in the East, Miami, the Boston Celtics, the Bucks. The Bucks have been improving here. I still don't pick them to win the East, but the Bucks are doing better. The 76ers, the Bulls, the Raptors, Cavaliers, Hawks. Now, Charlotte and the Brooklyn Nets, they're going to play in the play-in game if things stays the same to be able to get into the playoffs. But I don't think they're going anywhere. Brooklyn with Kyrie playing some games and not playing some games, it made it hard for them to gel and have some cohesiveness. I think that's what I tell everybody. Everyone says that James Harden is selfish. James Harden just did not like the fact that one of the better players, half the games he couldn't play. And so that put more pressure on him and KD, Durant, to be able to take it to the finish line. And that's hard. And he decided he wanted to go somewhere where he already got some guys in there waiting on him. And so in the West, you got Phoenix, who I think is going to win the championship this year. They're on a mission, the Phoenix Suns. You got Memphis, the Warriors, Mavs, Nuggets, Jazz, the T-Wolves, Clippers. New Orleans and the San Antonio Spurs at this particular moment are into the playoff game to get into the playoffs. I'm going to go ahead and address you guys before y'all get some texts. Oh, it allows me to stop once again. Email me at fatlarrypodcast@gmail.com. fatlarrypodcast@gmail.com, and let me know if you have anything that I'm talking about today that you'd like to include or tell me different about. Also, under the show today, when you see it, you can write comments down at the bottom. You know, after we talked with Miss Garrison, if you said, Larry, I tried to let you guys know that she was coming, because some shows I let people know who's coming next so that they have questions, but I didn't get any questions, so I'm just going to ask them questions I want to answer. So if you got something to say about her later on, I'll try to get in touch with her and find out. But email me at fatlarrypodcast@gmail.com with any information you may have or comments you may have. Last one, Major League Baseball. The Dodgers are the consensus pick to win it all after the Dodgers got money just flowing out of their pocket. They don't care how much they have to pay. They into winning, just like the New York Yankees are. Their budget is probably the highest in Major League Baseball. So I got the Dodgers picked to win it all. The Astros are going to open the season this Thursday, but they're going to be doing it in Anaheim, California. They're playing the California Angels. Okay, the Yankees going to be at the Red Sox. I'm calling saying something about that game because that's just a major game every year. Braves, the defending baseball champs, are going to be at Cincinnati, and the Rockies are going to be at the Dodgers. I said that was all, but I lied. Sorry. One last thing. Deshaun Watson has been traded to the Cleveland Browns. What a relief for the Texans. And the Texans got a haul. They got a major haul for Deshaun Watson. They got a first-round pick in 2022, 2023, and 2024. That can't get any too much better than that. And in 23, they're going to get a third-round pick, and in 22, they're going to get a fourth-round pick. Okay? So he signs for 5 years, $230 million. All right, our guest today is going to be Zina Garrison. For some of you old heads like myself, you're going to remember, and if you new heads don't know her, this is a tremendous opportunity for you to know her. I know everyone has seen King Richard talking about Serena and Venus, but before Serena and Venus, we had King Rodney. And that's a shout out to you, Rodney. Even though you're not Zina's dad, but that's who got her started. Zina's shaking her head like, well, he's not officially my dad, but he tried to be my dad. Okay, so we have Zina Garrison today. Zina, I want to welcome you to the show, baby.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you taking some time out of your valuable day. And I'm going to start it off this way. Just tell us how you started in tennis.
Well, it's funny you say King Rodney. It truly was because of King Rodney taking me over to McGregor Park where I met John Wilkerson. And Rodney was actually playing baseball right behind the tennis courts. And, he is 12 years older than I am or 11 years older. And, I was always the tag along and ended up at McGregor Park sitting on the bench watching John Wilkerson and everybody play tennis. And Rodney was in back behind me playing baseball. John asked me one day if I wanted to try the sport, and I said, yeah. And I found out later that Rodney had told him that he had a sister that was very athletic. And I played softball when I was younger and was shortstop and everything. And always, I was very athletic, very fast. And one thing just led to another. I fell in love with the minute I hit the first ball. What I loved about it more than anything was the fact that you could play by yourself or you could team up with someone, but you were accountable for the work that you put in. Okay. And that's what I always loved.
Okay. Now, you met John Wilkerson.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, did you know anything about John Wilkerson?
The only thing I knew at the time was that John was going to Texas Southern and that Provost was the coach over there.
His coach.
And John now was at McGregor Park, and so that was pretty much all I knew. Like I said, I just liked the fact that you hit the ball over the net, keep it in play. I figured out, I was always one of those kids that can analyze things really quick, and so once John explained to me, you keep the ball in, you're gonna win a point. I'm like, oh, that's all you gotta do. So I choked up on the racket, and it was all over after that.
Now, did you know anything? You said you only met him there. Let me give you a little tidbit, artist, about John Wilkerson. John Wilkerson is one of the greats to ever play at Texas Southern University, coached by the great Prevost. At that time, when I was at Texas Southern, and after Texas Southern, I graduated, the tennis team was the top. I mean, they go to any tournament, not just a SWAC tournament. They go to the Baylor tournament, the Harvard tournament, and I say Harvard because one of their players ended up becoming the coach at Harvard University. That's what I said. Not stuttering, he became the coach at Harvard University. That's how great Texas Southern tennis was. So I can imagine Zina didn't even know that she had greatness teaching her right at that particular moment. Did you figure out that he knew what he was talking about after a while, after practice and so forth, or somebody telling you about it later?
Well, when you're young, you're just excited to play. So I did realize when, we started winning more around the city that, people were coming from all over and they were asking to come to McGregor Park and they were asking for John. And we, one of the first to kind of really start having celebrity tennis matches where people would come from all over to help the junior tennis program there at McGregor. And I picked up then that John was something special. And that people not just in Houston knew about him, people all across the country knew about him.
Okay. Now, what was your age again when you met them, when you picked up the racket the first time?
I was 10 and a half, almost 11 years old. Quit for about 3 months because I got a brand new bike. And then Bill Cosby came out and he picked me out of 100 kids to hit with. He did a tennis clinic there. And out of 100 kids, he picked me to hit and been playing ever since.
Did he come because the city of Houston got him, or he knew John and John was putting on something?
John, just like I said, celebrity pros, people were coming from all over and they started hearing about McGregor Park and just, we had always had celebrities come out there. Bill Cosby, Arthur Ashe came out there. Earl the Pearl Monroe I met out there. I met Franco Harris. All these are like major names. But Moses Malone, I always tell the story with Moses Malone.
What's
it's like I got a brand new. So I was playing professional tennis by then, but I was still like 17 or something. Okay. And so I got a new contract with Bland Cadillac.
Okay.
And so my brother, so it's like everywhere I go, people were like, "Oh, I saw your sister. I saw your sister." So I snuck in a club one night and I had this new candy apple. So when I get to the beginning of the club, it's Moses. And he's like, "Turn around, get out of here." And I'm like, "You're going to be a tennis player." I'm like, "What?" He's like, so he's like, the next day he comes out and he's sitting there and I'm like, "Oh my God, he didn't tell John, did he?" And stuff. And he always told me, he's like, "I ain't gonna tell John, but you better not be up in the club no more. You're gonna be a professional."
That's great. That's great. That's what they call a village.
Yes.
Looking out the kids. Looking out after the kids.
And if it wasn't him, as everybody knows my brother, and somebody would always, "Oh, you're Rodney Garrison's little sister. What are you doing over here?" So after a while, I'm like, let me just do what I'm supposed to do, stay low, because my brother knows way too many people. I'm in London playing. I am probably number 5 in the world. I'm on the subway going there, and so this lady runs up to me and she's like, "Hi," and she doesn't say my name. She goes, "You're Rodney Garrison's little sister." I'm like,
London.
5 in the world. 5 in the world now. And this lady says, "You're Rodney Garrison's little sister." Never says my name, so for a very long time I was always Rodney Garrison's little sister.
Did you find out how she knew Rodney?
Oh, he was her postman. And he used to bring, she said, Rodney was my postman, and, we sure hated we moved because he would bring drinks to the kids and all of this. But the interesting thing, and I don't know if you know this, my dad was a postman.
Okay, no, I didn't.
And so, and I didn't know my dad because my dad died when I was 1 year old.
Okay.
But there was an article in the paper that talked about how he would take care of the neighbors.
Okay.
And just like my brother, and I was always somewhere. And I'll tell you another quick story about my brother. I'm at church one day over at Windsor Village, and this lady runs up and she gives me a big hug. And I was like, "Okay." And she said, I was on 288, and my car stopped, and this man said, "I just want to help you." And she said, "I had the kids in the car," and she said, I offered him some money when he got me some gas and everything and whatever. He said, no, what church do you go to? And she said, Windsor Village. Oh, when you see my sister, give her a hug.
What?
But you know, right?
yeah. Been knowing him a long time. Yes, family, that's one of my boys back from the TSU baseball days once again. Okay, Zina, okay, so you're 10 years old. Now, when did you actually dive head in to the sport? I mean, in other words, it became a part of your existence. You ate, breathed, and tennis.
11.
11?
Yeah.
A year later.
Because you had about 28 kids that would come to McGregor.
Mm-hmm.
And by that time, Dominic had built up his second group of kids that he had worked with. And so we all just became a part of a family. And so the minute I won my first trophy, I knew I was, it was something that I wanted to do. I've always been kind of a loner and an introvert kind of person.
Right.
But when I compete, I go hard. Yeah. And so for me, it was just like the perfect sport. And then Lori McNeil, another one of the tennis players that grew up, and her dad was Charlie McNeil, who played for the
football, right?
San Diego Chargers, had moved down here. So Lori and I are about the same age, but we were the youngest ones. So we would have to hit on the backboard, over and over. And then they would say, come on, you guys can hit. And so Lori and I had decided, like, when y'all let us on that court, you ain't letting us back off.
Yeah.
So we actually got very good very quickly. And so things for us just kind of progressed very fast. By the time we were 12, we both were top juniors in Texas.
Okay.
And going to national tournaments. And these are things that aren't really heard of. I mean, so we were playing national tournaments at 12, and then by the time I was 14, played a national tournament in Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay.
And interesting part is that there was a young girl that was getting ready. I was 13, was ready to go play professional tennis, and I didn't know what that was. And I made it to the finals, and I had a chance to play her. Everybody was talking about she was leaving there, and she was going to go play professional tennis. So I ended up losing 7-5, 6-4, something like that to her. And I'm like, if she can go pro, I asked John, I was like, so what is this pro stuff? And that's when I started understanding about Arthur Ashe and everything. But I'll never forget, her dad came up to me and told me that I will never be a tennis player because I didn't have a back.
No, wait a minute. The young lady that just beat you.
Yeah.
Okay, now go ahead.
The young lady that just beat me told me that I would never be a tennis player, and that I didn't have a backhand. And I never forget the very first time I got the chance to play.
I was getting ready to say,
it's like whoop that butt. And I had no problems with telling the dad, like, oh, I thought I would never make it. So.
Wow, man, that didn't sound like a scene out of King Richard. I mean,
it's a lot of similarities, and it's funny you mentioned King Richard, that movie. I love it. I loved it too, and I lived a lot of that with them because when they first came out, a lot of people did not. Richard only let a certain amount of people in his group.
Right.
And if you remember the movie, and I was actually telling Venus this, and she didn't quite remember it either. But her very first tournament, she beats the girl, Sean Stafford is who she beats.
Okay.
So she walks into the locker room, it's like all these people.
Right.
Well, the actual thing that happened, it was an indoor tennis court. She beats the person, she comes into the locker room. Well, I was the only person in the locker room.
What?
So the lady that asked her to come to do press walked up to her and she said, well, you need to do press. So she looks over at me and she's like, my dad told me to only talk to you in the morning. And the lady's like looking at me and I said, I'll go outside and I'll tell her dad that she has to do press or whatever. So I told Venus that story and she's like, oh my God, I kind of remember that. But
so you guys were at the same, y'all were on the what they call it?
I was quickly moving out.
Oh, okay. You were just becoming a pro when she was just coming into that status of going
She was 14 because back then you could play when you were 14 years old.
Right.
And I was getting ready to get out.
Right.
So I was getting ready to move on. I was 30 something and retiring. And
Okay.
so her very professional tournament was actually in Oakland, California.
Yeah, that one on that movie set I saw. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
And it was also funny as we were talking about this. I was telling her sister Isha, who did a lot of the remembering and making it very accurate. I teased her. I said, "Well, you forgot one thing. He used to call me at 6 o'clock in the morning and ask me, the girls are getting ready to go practice. Why are you not practicing?" I'm like, "I'm old. I'm getting ready to get out of here." But once again, that was a very true story. And John Wilkerson, who taught us, Richard talked a lot to John. And that's what I've always loved about Richard is that he studied the game, he studied the people around it, and he studied from all aspects, not just one. But he would talk to John Wilkerson a lot, just sort of for the fact of being a minority in an all-white sport.
Oh man, that was okay. So 14, we turned pro. What age?
I turned pro. Actually, I was 17, just leaving high school.
Okay. Now, was that calculated, or you just finally decided I'm ready to go pro, or after you and John maybe had a tournament set and y'all said that if we can get past this one, we turn pro?
I don't know if you ever met my mother. But my mother was like, "Are you going to college?" And I'm like, "I don't beat everybody to college. I don't want to go to college." And Arthur Ashe came down and had a talk with my mom. And it's like, look, she is right. She's beating everybody
in college
that is going to college or has been in the college. She's a top junior in the world. I was, getting ready to be the #1 junior in the world. And so finally he convinced my mom to let me go. And I played my very first tournament. Very first tournament at the French Open, made it to the quarters, never made it to the quarters again.
Wow, wait a minute. You opened up with the French. Why you didn't try something like the River Oaks or Birmingham or the Dallas Open or something like that?
I actually came on the computer. I think it's number 28 or 29. I think it was like kind of not heard of.
Okay.
So I only played like 7 tournaments, and I did well in all of them. And back then, if you play one tournament, you do well, you can move up. So I moved up to, I came on the rankings like really quick, really fast.
Okay.
And quarterfinals was my first Grand Slam at the French Open. I think I got to the round of 16s, and at Wimbledon, U.S. Open, I did well. So it's like I just kind of came on really quick. So Rita always tells me, she's like, you're a hidden figure, right?
So your first professional match or tournament is at Wimbledon?
French Open.
God. And your team, or was it the French Open, you were ranked, so they said, "Hey, we want you to come."
No,
and your team said, okay. They didn't want to start you nowhere, just no regular little tournament type thing.
No, it's just I qualified for it. So
that's what I meant. You qualified for it.
Back then, you have to have 7 events, and it was one of my 7, and that happened to be my first event. And I had an agent back then, and I never forget when she got my prize money together and she threw it on the bed, and she goes, "It's a lot more of that, It's not even close to the money they're making now." But it was something that I knew that I loved and that I wanted to play. I've always had a love-hate with tennis because I never really loved the traveling part of it.
Oh, really?
I don't like to fly.
Okay, I was going to say, that's part of it. I mean, they got tournaments all over the world.
Does
Dubai have a big tournament?
Yeah, I've never been. That's come later on.
That come later, okay.
But my, and I've always been very close to my family. So for me, it's quite different.
Who was your traveling compadre with? Because I'm sure one of the sisters traveled with you, right?
Well, actually, my sister Clara traveled with me in the beginning, and I actually just found this out recently. Was going through some of my other sister that passed stuff, and I was at my sister Judy's house, and a letter. My niece read this letter, and it talked about the letter was like blah 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 blah. This person should not be playing, calling the N words. They were writing all these letters to my mom way back then. And I used to wonder why my mom wouldn't let me travel. I mean, by myself.
Okay.
And so once we found these letters, and it made a lot more sense then.
Yeah, it made more sense then. Plus, you needed that buffer, somebody in between. See, everybody thought Richard was overbearing. No, Richard knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly what he was doing. He didn't want this little chatter. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. In regards to Serena and Venus, when they got a little big and somebody got in their ear and they said, you don't need your dad no more, I thought that's when they kind of like lost a few matches and they finally realized we need to get back to where when we weren't losing at all, and that was what they did. Did that actually occur? Or I just think that up?
No, it's just kind of the way that
it happened.
One thing I loved about Richard and Oracene is they allowed them to become their own people.
Right.
They would always be in the background, or they were always there. That's why you always saw a sister, or you saw the sister and the mother.
Right.
And then when Richard and Venus Richard and Oracene separated, then things kind of went different ways.
Right.
But they've always had very strong ties to the people that were with them before. Most people don't really know that.
Right.
From their accountant, CPA to, to the first agents that they had. I mean, it's very interesting.
Okay.
They've been very loyal to the people that,
Now, let's talk about your progression into the sport and becoming a target. Because when you get up at the top, that's when people shoot. If I can just be Zina, man, I'm on my way. Okay, so which major did you make the finals first?
Well, Wimbledon.
Or did you make any? I know you made Wimbledon.
Yeah.
Is that the only one you made?
Well, I made some doubles finals.
Okay.
The Australian Open, Lori and I in doubles, and then I have 3 Grand Slam mixed doubles titles.
Okay.
2 Wimbledons and 1 Australian Open. So I was always like knocking at the door, but I also, a lot of people don't realize I came through the era with Martina Navratilova and Chrissy.
Wait a minute. Don't go there. Because what I was getting ready to say about Martina, now, you don't have to worry about the WTA banning you or put blackballing you or anything. Whenever we watch you, we would always say, I don't understand how they let that man play you. You cannot tell me that woman was not on steroids.
She I can never say because I'm never in the room, but I know Martina and I know the work that she's put in. And so I would say no.
She was just built like that.
She's just built. And
that woman looked just like, she had biceps, she had this.
And I also knew her parents. And, I had an opportunity to actually go to her home in Czechoslovakia and, tripped me out when they put down chicken and dumplings. I was like, Martina, this is soul food.
So I've been barking up the road to you don't think, because I swear, we all said she was on something.
And she truly is one of my favorite people.
Okay.
And
that was your stone wall. And they seem to always make it. So before you get to the finals, somewhere like the third or second round,
I normally met her
you gotta hit her.
I normally met her in the semis or quarters.
Right.
And the interesting thing is, I literally probably lost her 35 times and beat her once.
We were sitting here counting a whole bunch of times that
I always tell the story is when, back in the day when, it was Continental Airlines and I would come through the Houston airport and the Continental Airline baggage guys was like, Zina, keep going. You're going to beat her one day.
That's what I'm saying, man. I'm like, man, that's what we were saying. Man, she's not going to be able to beat that man. She's not going to be able to beat her. But I'm glad you're setting the record straight. Okay, I owe Martina an apology. I'm man enough to do that because I just knew for years that was what was keeping my guests away from the final was they would always throw up against this guy. And because this woman was almost just indestructible, and I just knew there had to be a reason other than that. No, she was just indestructible. Now, Chrissy, though, that was a different story.
Yeah.
That was a different story. Yeah, that was a different story. What do you think about her that gave her the little edge over you? What did you think of her?
Well, actually, I didn't have a bad record against Chris. And
Okay.
so I didn't really play her that much, truth be told, I was the last one to beat her at the US Open.
Okay.
She still had a hard time kind of like admitting that, but it's on record. I was the one crying and she was the one kind of holding me, but I've always been that person. Like I understood what people meant before me.
Okay.
And so, it's a very famous picture that's out there, and she's consoling me and I'm the one crying, but I knew what she meant to tennis, and I knew the changing of the things were going. So it's just a really interesting time because I looked, for me back then, Chris Evert, Martina. I had an opportunity to play. And then I went into the Monica Seles era, the Steffi Graf era, and then my last part, Lindsay Davenport. So I was one of those players that had an opportunity to kind of dabble and at least beat one of them. And, all the time.
It's almost like Naomi was when she beat Serena. She cried.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? Something like that? Yeah. She cried. People's like, why is she crying? And she's no. She grew up wanting to be like her, and just like her, and then she beat her, and it's like, wow. And that's how you felt then when you beat her.
Yeah, it's just for overall like tennis. Like I was really fortunate to have a lot of people around me within my life. And you must remember, like for me back then, I was not the only black, but the top black at that time.
Right.
So people from all different aspects of the world would actually come up and were a big part. Barry Gordy was a big part of my career.
Really?
Yeah, just in the fact that Barry, he loved tennis, but he always wanted to show me that I didn't have to win a Grand Slam for people to know my household name. Wow. And he actually, for one entire year, he paid for a publicist to actually be around me and to get my word out and whatever. I actually probably had one of my worst years, but people started knowing my name.
Isn't that something? That's a great tidbit, Barry Gordy.
Maya Angelou was like a grandmother to me. I mean, just a lot of words of wisdom. And, tennis has brought a lot of interesting people in my life that gave me a lot of interesting experiences to help take me to the next level of being the person that I have, I believe I have now. But I think the biggest thing, it's hard to call you Fat Larry, but Fat Larry, I think the biggest thing is that I was always one of those kids that was willing and not afraid to be a role model, but I understood how valuable the people before me, the information can stop me from doing something that I didn't need to do. And I was willing to accept that.
Okay. Now, your first contract. Now, going back to King Richard Facebook.
It was not
No, excuse me, I said Facebook, but my YouTube family. Did they schedule a time with your agent and came to your house with your mom?
That would be a no. So,
how did you do your promotional?
Well, actually, I went with ProServe because that's who ProServe is an agent that
they negotiated your stuff.
Yeah, negotiated, and I had most people don't realize this. When I was in the finals of Wimbledon, I had no contract for 5 years. I was the top 5 in the world, and had no contracts.
Did you have an agent?
I had an agent, and they kept telling me.
Why did they not got you a contract?
Well, I'm black in an all-white sport, and I was told that I could not sell to a white market. And my first contract, I'll go back a little bit. When I first came out, I was the #1 junior in the world. I got a contract with Pony.
Oh, I remember that.
And so that lasted for 3 years, and then I was told that I wasn't blonde and blue eyes.
Right.
And so that pretty much kind of stopped. And so I didn't actually get a contract. And actually, I just spoke to one of my agents during the pandemic. He finally told me the story that they went all the way to the night of me getting on at Wimbledon and playing with Reebok. And they kept wanting to give me a one-shot deal. He's like, no, if she wears your clothes, she's gonna have a multi-year contract, blah, 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 blah. He said he went to literally the night. See, most people don't realize up until the finals, I wore Martina Navratilovan's clothes.
No, I didn't know that.
I wore Martina's
And
clothes.
she was by who?
She had her own clothing.
Oh, she had her own clothing line.
And she gave me clothes because she knew I didn't have a contract. So I had to say to Martina, I'm gonna get a deal with Reebok. And she's like, ooh, Wimbledon finals or when, like superstitious, but we kind of joked about it. But I wore for the finals of Wimbledon, I wore Reebok, but the rest of the tournament I wore Martinez.
Wow, Reebok. Now
that's why I can't let you get on my girl Martinez.
That's right, yeah, that's right. And I apologize to her. I apologize to her again. I just knew you was on some type of steroid, but you have been released from the demon of me saying that.
I'm huge.
right, for me saying that. You know what I mean? That was just hard work on your part that got you looking like that. And it's possible. It's possible.
Yeah,
hard work can get you like that.
She works hard.
Yeah. Well, you could tell. And hated to lose, like I'm sure everybody does, but you got some that have a different degree of hate to lose. They're gonna run through the wall before they lose.
Yeah.
And so I saw something with Rod played with Carnation. Did you do anything with Carnation?
That was one of my first contracts.
Carnation?
Yeah,
okay.
Carnation, milk, and that was kind of but so when
but still they got you out there. At least, yeah.
I actually had a couple of inches of Carnation Tampax.
Okay.
I was like one of their first minorities
really?
that they actually put on. Yeah.
What's the longest contract you had in Montana? 3 years was it?
Well, actually, Reebok's was like it's like 5 years.
That's because that's what Venus's was on their show. They showed a 5-year contract.
So, but the really the biggest thing like back then is that they really just felt that they were not that blacks couldn't market to others. And one of my best friends is Jack and Jordan Kersey, and we always talk about how so many more doors that we kind of open.
Right.
That people don't even realize that we open.
Oh, we do.
Sports
fans do. Yeah. Sports fans. The average individual doesn't, but sports fans know. Like I told my audience last week, before Serena and Venus, I'm gonna have a person on that was before them, and that's you. And there were others also.
Yeah.
There was others also. Yeah. Lori McNeil, like you said, she did great.
Yeah.
She did
top
great.
10.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And then you even had, and I never forget, we were at the 2000 Olympics in Seoul, and I was the assistant captain for Billie Jean King for the Olympic team. And Venus and Serena, that was their first Olympics. And so I'll never forget, I was on the center court one day practicing, so Serena walked up to me and she said, if you were meaner and more outspoken, you would get more contracts and do whatever. And I remember I was like, what? I said, do you realize because I'm not a certain way, then more doors are open for you?
Right.
Well, the next day she came back and she apologized.
Right.
Guess who got on her?
Who's that?
Venus.
See what I'm saying?
Venus is like, because she didn't do this, now we have more opportunities.
Yes.
Blah, 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 blah. But I always thought that was really interesting because I never forget when they won the Olympics, that their first Olympics. And so I went down and I told them, I said, don't let that flag don't let it touch the ground. You don't have to wrap it around you. You hold that flag up high. And I said, I guarantee you one day, I said, you might not make the money that Tiger Woods is making,
right,
but this will be something that you guys will make a lot of money. I said, this first Olympic gold medal, I remember getting off the plane and I remember USA Today had a cover and they had the biggest smiles and they talked about them being Americans and whatever. So I always think about, little moments like that most people don't even know that I touched the situation.
Well, that's what we're doing here today, artists. We're giving Zina her flowers. We're giving her flowers.
It's just nice to see the evolution of the way things have happened.
I'm sort of kind of like that too. I was a big sports guy back home back in the day in high school. They still remember me. My wife used to say, that's the only reason why he want to come over here, because these people are going to be pumping him up, but no. But I was quiet like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize, you actually didn't realize what you were doing.
No.
Because what you were doing was just playing the game you loved.
Well, you know what I was doing is playing the game that I was doing that I loved, but I was passing on experiences that other people had passed on to me, but helping them take it to another step.
Right.
And that, Jeannie Ashmore, Arthur Ashe's wife, when he died, I'll never forget, she's like, Zina, now you have to take on the torch, because Arthur taught me a lot.
Right.
And I was like, I'm not ready. And but I remember Maya Angelou saying to me, like, you are ready. And it's just part of who you are.
Right.
And if you're the same person that we see here as we see when the doors close, you're gonna be fine. And that's so true. My mom always just still instilled that into all of us. Is like, be who you are. Right. And the one thing I always think about, my mom always said to all of us is, be the best. If you're going to be a housekeeper, be the best housekeeper. No matter what it is, you be the best.
That leads us into this. We're getting close to the end. Now you are tied in to some type of organization that you're the forefront. When you thought you couldn't lead, now you're leading. Can you tell me and the audience what you're currently doing now?
Well, I'll start off saying this too is, first of all, this is the 30th anniversary of the Zina Garrison Tennis Academy. And we still have it at McGregor Park, free lessons for the kids and everything. But
excuse me for interrupting you. When is it? Are you going to say that?
It's year round.
Okay.
And if you just went to zinagarrison.org, you will find it.
One more time.
zinagarrison.org. And that's not Zina the Xena, Zina. But I also now have a new position with the Houston Park and Rec, which I'm very proud of because it allowed me to do more youth programming and also tennis manager for the whole city of Houston.
Fantastic.
So I'm really excited about that and looking forward to the opportunity to, my goal is to really have each kid, as many kids as possible, touch the tennis racket. And there's so many, just learning the game of tennis. There's so many things that you can learn, from life, being honest when you have to call the lines, right. Being accountable, goal setting, being respectful for others. Yes. And so this is just going to allow me to touch more, not just youth, but also adults and bring back tennis the way it was before in the city of Houston.
Do you feel like there's a large turnout, or do you think that we can do more or better, or and having kids come to your academies or functions, whatever you may call them?
Well, I would say this is that things that young people invest in your kids. And that doesn't mean just invest in money. It means investing in time. Meaning investing into programs that people have put in place out here for you guys. A lot of times what I see sometimes is young people that bring them out 1 or 2 times. The kid wants to play, but then the parents don't want to put in the time to just bring them to practice. And so I'm really, my hope and prayer is to really bring back youth programming in the city of Houston with the Houston Park and Rec, is giving kids an opportunity to try many different things. Okay. And I'll give you an example. One thing that's coming up April 9th from
Say that one more time. What's coming up? Because you read in my mind. Because when you finish, I was going to say, okay, give us a date and a time of your most current thing that's coming up.
And this is not even tennis.
Okay.
It's skateboarding for girls.
Okay.
And Jamil Park, that's down on, I can't remember the exact address, but Jamil, Jamil Park, okay. April 9th from 4 to 6, there's going to be an all-girls skateboarding event to getting kids more interested into skateboarding. And the reason why I said that is most people don't even realize there's skateboarding and can lead to snowboarding. That's in the Olympics.
Yeah, professional too.
Yeah.
That's professional. Okay, tell us of any tennis function that is coming up soon.
Well, tennis, the summer programmings will be coming up across all of Houston. that will be starting around somewhere in June. So still waiting for to put out the actual schedule.
Okay.
And also at McGregor Park at Memorial and also at Lee LeClaire. But there are going to be other parks around the city. So the summer program would actually be the next program where you can get your kid out and participate. And I'd like to say this on your show as well is, young people, young couples, bring your kids out to different programs. There's swimming, there's, not just baseball, football, those are all great. Try something new, like I said, skateboarding, try tennis, try soccer, try some different stuff.
Now, Zina, what I want you to do is tell the listening audience, how can they, if they're interested in their child, and you're talking about kids and they don't have to have a tennis background, just a want to be able to learn, how can they get their kids enrolled? One more time.
The first one is ZinaGarrison.org. That's the program at McGregor.
Okay.
And Houston, you go to HoustonParks.com. Not today, not tomorrow, give it another week.
Okay.
And you will be able to put in youth tennis, and you can find tennis within your area.
Fantastic. Because, as Richard said one more time, we as a people don't understand the opportunity that lies in tennis. But it takes what you said. See, they see the end result of of you two, Zina, Serena, and Venus, and don't understand that there were steps and processes to get.
Well, it's an investment, and it's an investment start with your family. If you remember the movie King Richard, he talks about investing in your family.
Right.
And the other thing is, a lot of times we get stuck in what we want for some. Listen to your kids; they'll tell you if they want to play. And then I want to bring up something else too. The young people out there now that are playing esports, that are gamers.
Right.
And I'm saying this to the minorities that are watching your thing. It's $100 billion industry.
Hold on. Say that to that camera right there one more time.
I've studied this because I want to bring this to kids as well in youth programs. You people that are gamers out there, it's $100 billion industry that's moving fast. Minorities, we're getting behind very quick. But I'm saying all this to say is there's a lot of money, there's a lot of careers. Don't just be gaming and not understanding that you could possibly have a career there. Do you know you can get scholarships for gaming now?
I did not know that.
Over 150 schools are now doing it, and are doing even more. Houston Community Colleges. Houston Community College started one. University of St. Thomas. All of these things, and they're right now trying to figure how can Houston, because we're the fourth largest city, how can they get more people involved? So I'm saying this because it's $100 billion industry that a lot of kids, y'all people are sitting there, y'all playing for fun.
And they're good at it, and don't understand that they can take it to another level.
Oh yes, and I got to go back to one of the things. So before we go off, we got to talk about James Harden.
Okay. Talk to me. I didn't know if you want to talk about ball, but hey, I love.
Look, I am my brother's sister, and I do talk about other sports.
Okay.
But I'm still upset because he, that last Warriors game we lost, and he could have blocked out. And when we had Chris Paul here, we could have went back, and he, instead of blocking out and getting on and trying to do a little defense, he stepped back. But then he wanted to complain about everything. Right. So one of my good friends, Kim Davis, I don't know if you know
Kim is forecasting.
Yeah. So we talk about it all the time, and she's probably one of the seniors on her soapbox. But how can he be a champion? He don't do the stuff off the court to be a champion.
Don't do the stuff off the court.
He's never done it.
Never.
Love him to death, great shooters.
Great
player. But, and I'm saying this to young people out there, true champions are true champions across the board. They're not just one thing. So you mentioned about him not being selfish.
Yeah.
I want to disagree with you because we had all those other great players. We had all these other.
Did I say that? I didn't mean that. He was selfish.
But not been able to work with anybody. Then he made sure to leave and go to the Nets, and then he left and went to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So I'm saying all that to say is, wish I would have met him one day, but didn't. But it's fine. But hopefully, our Rockets will come back with these young guys. Because from what I hear,
it's just gonna be a process.
What I hear, these young guys are really
they
something
got like
to watch.
4 or 5 real good ones, but it's just a process. You just don't come into the league, basketball association with 4 or 5 rookies and win. Maybe one like Magic, but not 4 or 5 of them. Magic can't.
So my soapbox on him basically is I have a message to that. If you're truly a champion and you want to be a champion and want to be on a championship team, it starts not just with you, but being able to be a teammate with your others and making it work.
Right. Be the best teammate you can be.
On and off the field.
On and off.
And not taking people to clubs. So did I just say that? That's not teammate.
That's okay. Well, Zina, I want to thank you for allowing me to have you on the show, and hopefully you'll come back again. Yeah. And we'll talk some more. Now I know you talk other sports. Yeah. When I come on, I'm going to have you sit over here, and we're going to do the podcast together on the sports current events. Okay?
Well, I'm not my brother, but I keep up a little bit.
Now, what I want you to do is stay there as I try to let the audience know, producer, am I on the right side to show this? Should I be on the other side to show this? And you may also, Zina, go to Fat Larry Podcast at gmail.com. That's the email. But fatlarrypodcast.com to purchase a hoodie.
Okay.
We got great hoodies right here. And also, we have t-shirts. I'm not going to say anything about somebody that's related to you that says something about t-shirts. Here's the t-shirts that we have.
He'll be calling me.
Right, you already know. How you do that? I said, I am not going to show you how to get online and buy this t-shirt. Other people are going
to show him how to get online. Maybe he can't use that as an excuse no more.
So these are the t-shirts. We got different colors and sizes. So go to fatlarrypodcast.com to do the purchase. We would greatly appreciate it because what it will do is help the show continue. This is not about me making any money. I just love what I'm doing and I want to be able to continue to do it. And we also take donations too at fatlarrypodcast@gmail.com. Hit me up and I'll tell you the cash out and the Zelle. Is that it? Yeah, the Zelle on how to make the donation if you like. Tax-deductible. So check it out. And once again, I want to thank Ms. Z for coming to the show. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Pass the word.
I will.
So, thank you, young lady. And once again, family, thanks for checking in with me. Peace out.